What is going on, everyone? It's Wacka. Welcome you to the new year. It is now 2026. Um, it is currently about 2 in the morning. However, I wanted to get this video recorded uh, pretty much while this was on my mind, and I just finished my notes with PRs. I just ranked everyone in order. As per usual, it's probably not the best ranking because um, I think a lot of my biases go into this, and sometimes I'll go hard on like one team for like something else, and then I'll turn around on another team, and like they might have the same problem, but if they have a different issue, then I probably won't address that same problem. So I did try to go back to a couple teams that I covered earlier, and I tried to put the same criticisms on them, but um, it just kind of doesn't end up that way sometimes. I do think for the next PRs, I'll probably change my ranking system again. Um, and instead of writing like paragraphs about each thing, like I'll just put like little notes about like each aspect that I think that is important on each team. Um, I'll figure something out. And the ranking system will be a little bit more precise from there because currently I just have a scale of like 1 to 100, and I kind of just make up numbers between like the C and B range for most people. So that's kind of how it is. But before I get into PRs, um, again, I want to thank you guys for participating this time. It is not really a real season or anything, so we'll even see if we can get to 9 weeks. It really just depends on when Champions comes out and what information we get about Champions. Um, I'm under the assumption that they might change megas entirely. Like they might make it the way they are in ZA, and if they do, megas are absolutely pretty much cooked. But or even if the Z megas are like that, because Z megas function completely differently too, even in ZA. So uh, I am just kind of waiting to see how they function. The abilities that we are using currently aren't really how they're gonna function when Champions comes out. So a lot of this, it's basically like a fan meta that we're playing with real meta around it, but I think it's still a good opportunity to test things just in case. Oh, like this Pokemon is broken even without like a proper ability, like Greninja Delphox. Like if they get a proper ability, like they're probably getting banned. So now is the time to use them. But before I go into PRs, I'd first like to talk about the megas that weren't drafted. So I will take a not that I will take a good look at the draft board. And mind you, this might change. This could always change. Um, so who wasn't drafted, and who am I surprised about not getting drafted? Um, I think everything on the board was drafted up to 15 points. I believe Darkrai was on the board until Grace Period. Excuse me, until Grace Period, but I think Power Fabled picked it up. So the best Pokemon left on the board were Celesteela, Urshifu, Mega Skarmory, and Mew. I am very surprised that Mega Skarmory is on the board. Every team tour, not every team tour, because I'm only in one team tour, but Mega Skarmory was like one of the first megas that everyone looked at when it was released because its stats are so good. Steel Flying typing is still phenomenal. Weak armor into Sword Stance is still very good. And it's still bulky on top of that, and I've seen it perform pretty okay. I will say I don't think it performs very well if you're just using it to sweep, but I think if you're using it to click buttons and roost up and then like also be able to wall things particularly, I think it is a good mega for that. So again, kind of surprised it wasn't picked up over a lot of these other megas that were picked up. Next up was Mega Chestnut. Um, I was again kind of surprised it didn't get picked up. But I will say currently the Raichus have Surge Surfer, so I kind of thought that the Raichus would get picked up over it, and yes, Raichu Y did get picked up, but Mega Chestnut actually performs pretty well on electric terrain teams, assuming that there's not an electric terrain Mega that gets Surge Surfer like the Raichus do. So I could have seen it on like the Coco team perhaps, but actually the Coco team doesn't have Mega Raichu Y. Um, but it's something that I see quite a bit, and I was kind of surprised. And it's also like everyone likes its design, and its defenses are very good. Its attack stats are very good. Um, it seems to perform well in like Trick Room if you have a Trick Room setter like a Slow King or Deoxys, or I've seen someone use like Meloetta to set up Trick Room for it. So pretty cool there. Starmie, I don't think I'm super surprised it wasn't picked up. I think once Champions comes out, Starmie is going to gain a lot of value, um, assuming it has huge power or pure power and not like Hustle or something like that. I could definitely see it having Hustle, but I'm gonna assume it has huge power or pure power based on how its stats were increased, kind of like Mawile and Medicham in ZA. But I think once it gets huge power, it'll be pretty good. They even gave it access to Triple Axle. But I will say I have seen Starmie perform pretty well without huge power, just as a special attacker pivot. But it doesn't have an ability. Like I think its ability is Illuminate, which kind of I think they change it to work like Keen Eye, but it doesn't really do much for it. Hawlucha, I don't think I'm super surprised to not see it get picked up. It seems very niche, and considering Staraptor also came out and it's more of a new toy than even Lucha is, I am not surprised to see Lucha on the board, at least before Staraptor went. And Staraptor is also a Mega that was on the board until Grace Period. Mega Meowstic, I am not surprised is on the board. I actually think I might have overpriced it. Its stats are very good, but when I heard people talking about it, and I kind of agree with them that it's just kind of it's a good Mon, but there's just Mons that are better than it that do the same thing but also offer more. And yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. Um, if I didn't have a top pick in the draft though, I think Meowstic would have been on my radar. There's quite a few of these megas that weren't picked up that were definitely on my radar if they weren't picked up. But yeah, Scrafty, I think Mega Scrafty was not really a surprising one. I think it was more interesting like when it was released in October, and I think people were looking at it quite a bit. However, I think in terms of its stats and like its low HP, like it really isn't that good. And it does have new tools, but I do think that there's better options than Scrafty out there. Clefable, I'm not surprised Clefable didn't get picked up. Um, it is just kind of a worse Clefable. You're forced to use Cute Charm. I made it 10 points though in case anyone really wanted Clefable for 3 less points, because I think regular Clef is kind of susceptible to knockoff anyways, so it's kind of like you're kind of just getting like a cheaper Clef, even if you don't want to Mega Evolve, and then you can just Mega Evolve like if you feel you have to, like, oh, I'm up against this Garchomp, and the only thing that can kill me on this set is Earthquake. So I can Mega Evolve, and then now I'm immune to both its stabs, and it's not running like P-Jab or something to hit me. Um, so I guess I'm a little bit surprised Clef didn't get picked up, but I'm a bit surprised, but at the same time not surprised. And same thing for Feraligatr and Frostlass. Frostlass's typing is just really ass. I thought maybe Zora would pick it up on his Mono Ghost team, but he just kind of didn't. Gator is it's just a Dragon Dancer, or like a Swords Dance Scale Shot Mom, but it's still a little bit too slow. I think it's too much revenge killed by other like Scarfers, so I'm not really surprised it didn't get picked up. Electros, not really surprised about that one either. I think it might have been a little bit expensive, and the only reason I made it as expensive as it was is because I got my ass handed to me by it in the team tour. Eel is kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Having no weaknesses is very good, but it didn't really gain any bulk in its stats, and I think people are so used to using Eel um as like an assault vest pivot that like why would you want to use Mega Eel? And they kind of wasted its stats. Like they gave it an awkward speed tier. Where, like it's not good in Trick Room anymore. It can't really boost its speed, so it's just kind of like stuck in the middle of like some like awkward crap. And I'm not surprised that it didn't get picked up. But I will say that it almost did. So if that's anything, I think Glamora. I'm not surprised about it not getting picked up at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Mega Glamora like never gets drafted in any draft league because I don't see what this thing does better than regular Glamora, and I don't even like regular Glamora. I think people need to leave that mon in 2025. But Mega Glamora is worse, and again, it's kind of like Clef where I made it a lot cheaper than regular Glim, but regular Glim really relies on its item a lot more than Clef does. No Focus Sash, no Red Card, no Air Balloon. You can't run any of that shit on Mega Glamora. And while its speed is like alright, and its special attack is a little bit better, it's basically like worse Nihiligo, and except it has Earth Power, and I really don't think that's like I'd rather have Nihiligo with an item than Mega Glim. There's no reason to ever draft Mega Glim, unfortunately. I think if I had the balls to put Mega Glim like a lot lower, sure, but I think regular Glim is just better with an item. Honestly, Mega Glim like might be the worst like Mega ever made. Like I'm not even joking. Barb, I'm not surprised Barb didn't get picked up. Its typing is a little bit awkward, and while it does have its better ability with Tough Claws, it is Shell Smash banned, so I figured maybe people just really wouldn't want to fuck with it when there's just other better megas around, especially megas that are already like fighting type. Um, yeah, Drampa was picked up in the draft, but it got dropped in grace period for Staraptor. So I think I'm surprised. I guess I'm not surprised that it didn't get picked up by someone else because I think most of the other megas that were drafted are just better. And same for Scolipede. Scolipede's kind of awkward, where I have seen it perform very well, but it does need like really good support to use Scolipede. Um, Most of these low tiers I'm just not surprised about. I'm not gonna say much about them, but most of these like have major drawbacks where like Phalanx traps itself in. Its stats are still kind of underwhelming. Its special defense is really bad. So if it doesn't kill something, like it just kind of dies. Floette has no coverage. Golisopod still has emergency exit, so even though its typing is a lot better, once it gets rid of emergency exit, it will be like immediately better. Honestly, I probably should have put Golisopod a little bit lower on the tier list because now I think about it, I think I would have rather used Golurk, Victory Bell, or Emboar over Golisopod because at least they have like more consistency. Dragalge is just worse Dragalge because it has a worse ability, and it can't run boots. So there's no reason to run Mega Dragalge yet, unfortunately. If it gets like regen though, it'll be very good. Emboar is kind of in the same boat as a lot of other megas, especially as like a fighting type. There's just other better like fighting type megas. Emboar is kind of awkward too. Like firefighting is not the best typing. It's very good offensively, but it's a little bit worn down over time by like hazards or just being slow and not very physically defensive. Yeah, Victory Bell is kind of awkward. I think it really has to outclass Venusaur in some way in order for people to use it. But I think right now, like it's just kind of a worse like regular Venusaur with chlorophyll, and a regular Venusaur can run like Life Orb, and it's basically just stronger Victory Bell, and I'm pretty sure it's like bulkier in most aspects, and Victory Bell doesn't really have a lot going for it. Raichu X is garbage. I am not surprised that it wasn't picked up at all. Its defenses being increased did nothing for it really because its HP is still too low. Its speed stayed the exact same, which really sucks. It's a pure electric type. 135 attack just isn't enough, and like even in good matchups, your best move is Volt Tackle, and you're just gonna kill yourself after like 2 hits. So I don't really see the point in Raichu X. It really needs something like broken in order for it to be good. Tatsugiri, I'm not surprised about that one at all because um, its abilities Commander, its stats also really didn't increase that greatly. I think they wasted quite a bit in attack. And Tatsugiri is one of those mons where like its stats were really bad before. The only thing holding it up was its typing, and now that it can't really hold an item, it's kind of just it's kind of a nothing burger mon right now, and I think it's mostly going to be for doubles, but we'll see. Mega Crab, I kind of thought someone would pick up Mega Crab um, as like a Trick Room mon, but at the same time, I am not surprised that it was left on the board for what other megas were. Scovillain is kind of in the same boat as some of these other lower tier megas where it's just a worse option than like it's probably just a worse option than regular Scovillain because regular Scovillain can run boots, it can run specs, it can run life orb, whereas Mega like it barely gained any bulk. It's still very frail, and they gave it mixed attacking potential, so it's really bad. The last one's Mega Malamar. It's a psychic dark typing. I'm not gonna elaborate further on that, mom. So with that said, 16 minutes into the video, let's get into number one. Oops. You guys can actually see the teams on the side. Okay. Well, you already saw this, but at number 16 we have Zor with our Mono Ghost team. He has the Mega Golurk, Dragapult, Annihilate, Zor Kasui, Mimikyu Gengar, Aegislash, Drifblim, Jellicent, Decidueye, and Ceruledge. He is, I think, the only coach that did not use his full budget, which makes a lot of sense because he has nowhere to get other ghost types that are like higher tier when other people took some of the higher tier megas. And for a mono ghost team, I think he actually kind of covers a lot of things very well. He has Drifblim Decidueye's removal, which I'm trying to think of a ghost type that has removal that aren't those two, and I'm not really thinking of a lot of them that aren't like super low. Yeah, it is a mono ghost team. I'm trying to think about what I should even really say about it. He does have Pult, which is the best mon in the format. According to a lot of people, like I'm in SPS, they're about to run a Polydex format, and they for some reason banned Pult but not Val, which is really saying something because I think we're kind of under the impression that Dragapult really is broken in like Paldex. Not sure how well that translates to Natdex because I've seen Pult allowed in Natdex, and I feel like it's fine in every format that I've played, but whatever. But yeah, it's Mono Ghost, and I don't feel like dwelling on this too long. Heister has Mega Chandelure, Terapagos, Zapdos, Alomomola, Roaring Moon, Kartana, Grimmsnarl, Piloswine, Breloom, and Masquerain. And at first I feel like I didn't think I'd put this team that low. He used a lot of his budget on his top 5 picks. And I even said that he has some of the best top-end special attackers that were drafted, such as Terapagos, Zapdos, and I guess Chandelure. I think I was a bit delirious when I was writing this because I saw Chandelure in the first slot. I was like, oh, that's a top tier. But no, I mean, it's mostly Terapagos and Zapdos, which, to be fair, I think they're some of the most annoying special attackers to switch into because Terra Starstorm is very spammable. Zapdos stabs are also like very spammable without a lot of switch-ins to those. He's got a Wish, Regenerator, Pivot, and Aloe, which I believe he used last season, so he's hogging Aloe. But he must have saw something in Aloe because I put Aloe like I think last season I had it at like maybe 11 or 12, but this time I put it at 13. I'm not joking around with you guys. I think Aloe is like genuinely like a round 2 mon. I've even seen it drafted round one. Like people are really seeing that the potential in Aloe here, and yeah, I definitely see it. Um, his only flying resist is Zapdos, which kind of sucks. I think Kartana really needs to be a different Mon because he has Breloom, which kind of functions similar as like a grass big attacker, especially with like Technician. It has better like it has other moves to click like Mach Punch and like close combat that I don't think he needs Kartana for. Excuse me, but I think Kartana's big issue is that everything in their grandma has a vacuum wave now, and I think Kartana's just asking to die. Um, which sucks. There was a point where I really wanted to use Kartana again, but I think it's getting worse and worse. The more that people are getting like priority on their mons that Kartana used to beat, like even like Empoleon for example. And I'm not sure if Kartana. No, I think Kartana would be Empoleon 1v1 because of Sacred Sword and Leaf Blade just hits really hard. But now Empoleon can kind of like if it can live a hit, it just has to vacuum wave twice and then Kartana dies. So like again, it's an example of a matchup where Kartana loses there. Grimmsnarl should just be like a better fairy. I don't really think Grim is a good fairy, and we're kind of seeing some things that are going wrong because of it, such as not having like the best fighting resist. Well, you have Zapdos, you have Masquerain, I guess you have Chandelure, but it's mostly Zapdos, Chandelure. But I think if you had a proper fairy, it would be a little bit better. Trying to think of a fairy that you'd like. I think especially defensive fairy could be good, like a Sylveon. I don't think you need Grimmsnarl. But there's not a lot of good fairies that are open, because I think I would have argued like Togekiss or like something else, but Sylveon just kind of feels like another Aloe, which I have used Aloe plus Sylve before, but that was when I used to play Semi-Stall. Maybe you need to ask Wobbuffet for like Primarina, because it seems to be like an offensive team, but then it's coupled with Aloe. But I really do like Aloe Wish Passing into Terrafigos, like that's going to be super annoying. Next up we have Joey's team, which I was kind of surprised to put so low, but the reason I put this low is, do you see that red number under the dark type and the red number under the ground type? That is why I put this team low, because why the fuck do you not have a dark type, and why the fuck do you not have a ground type? Now, I get it. Garchomp Z... Well, Garchomp is a ground type, but Garchomp Z is not a ground type. So, the problem... And also, is this sprite even Garchomp Z, or is this, like, regular Mega Garchomp? I think this is Garchomp Z, but I think I get confused, because as they kind of look similar. And McAfee, I don't fucking care. I don't know why, like, every computer I get comes with McAfee, so my computers all just come with a virus, and it fucking sucks. And it's starting to get pretty annoying here. Anyways, Garchomp Z, not a ground type. Yes, you could bluff the Mega and choose to just not run Mega, but I think the way you drafted, I think you drafted Garchomp Z to Mega Evolve and then stack Hazards, because it looks like you drafted it for its speed. And also clicking Spikes and Stealth Rock when quite a few of your mons kind of benefit from hazards being up, such as Tapu Lele. You got Darmanitan. Oh yeah, I didn't give the full rundown of the team, but yeah, you got Garchomp Z, you got Golden Go, you got Lele, Rotom Heat, Darmanitan, Galar, Crobat, Starmie, Serena, Trakan, and Ambipom. But I will say, Starmie got some interesting tools in ZA, but although that was mostly for its physical attack. Trakan also got Head Smash, which makes it a very terrifying breaker on the physical side. And then they gave Crobat Knockoff, and I think they gave it something else too. Maybe it was like First Impression, but I do know that they gave Crobat, I think, Knockoff, which is good because the knock users are Ambipom and Serena. I don't think those are good. Those aren't very good knock users, I don't think. Other than that, you have like Trick Golden Go and you got Trick Rotom Heat. But yeah, you have no ground and you have no dark. Please add Crocodile on this team over like G-Darm. Like, you don't need G-Darm, I don't think. But I think if you add Crook, it offers you quite a bit more. And also it offers you a Dark Resist. Because your Dark Resist is Terrakion. And, well, it's not a bad Dark Resist. You also, your Ghost Resist is Ambipom. So, like, we need to do something about that. And Crook would also just kind of help with, like, your Rock weakness, too. Rock weakness isn't that bad. I think Terrakion and Golden Go are good enough there, but yeah, there's quite a few issues with this team, and I feel like you're kind of using Garchomp as a hazard setter more than like a sweeper that it could be. Because you can do a lot with Garchomp. You can nasty plot with it. But if you're nasty plotting with it, like I think it would also like hazards to be up, and you don't. Your only other hazard setter is Terrakion. But I do like that you have double rapid spin in case you are using Garchomp as a stacker. Next up we have Cryptix. I kind of thought I was going to put this team higher because this actually looks like a decently competent team. In his last draft, I had to place him very, very low. And unfortunately, he only moved up a couple spots. I think the more I looked at this team, the less I liked it. He has a lot going for it. I think Absol Z is a very interesting mon. I do think it has the most fraud potential, unfortunately. Because it's kind of like regular Mega Absol with like pretty much the same attack stat. It's a little bit higher and then just 151 speed. Added ghost typing is interesting because it kind of means that it doesn't function as a dark, like a proper dark type anymore. Like you don't resist ghost anymore. So that kind of means like you want a good normal type or like a secondary dark to pair with it, like a bulkier one, but we kind of didn't. But what we did pair it with was Melmetal, Clefable, Glimmora, Landorus, Slowking, Ogerpon, Hearthflame, Palmot, Goodra, and Persian. So yeah, Persian is your ghost resist or immunity. You don't have a ghost resist, just an immunity, and even then, its bulk is 65, 60, and 65. It is not very good. I hope, Crypt, that you can figure out how to get a better ghost resist on that team, because if you're facing Zor, I think you have no shot in hell at beating Zor. But luckily for you, that Zor did steal most of the ghost types that, at least in terms of ghost types, like, you're probably only going to lose to Zor because no one else was allowed to have a ghost type this season, apparently. So that's probably good for you. I also think you went a little bit heavy on the special side, special defensive in particular. You got Clefable, you got Slowking, and you got Goodra, which are all very phenomenal special walls. But your physical wall is like Melmetal. And sure, Melmetal is like very, very fat. It has a lot of HP and a lot of defense. But you don't really want to use Melmetal as like your physical wall because like, oh, the Excadrill's coming in. Like, what are you going to do when Excadrill comes in? It outspeeds Lando. It kind of just clicks Earthquake for free otherwise. And when it's faster than Lando, like, I guess I won't spoil it, but Excadrill just kind of beats this team. There's nothing that you can do to beat Drill, unfortunately. So I do think you need to, like, you need to change Slowking into Slowbro, I think. And potentially, like, I don't know. I'm just not the biggest Glimmora fan, but I think you could drop Glim. You also don't really have a ground resist, so again, something that Lando likes to do is click Gravity. But if you're clicking Gravity, you have just lost your ground resist. Your only ground resist being Lando, because your grass type does not resist ground, and you have no bug type, which is surprising because I kind of thought you liked bug types, but yeah, at the least change Slowking to Slowbro. I don't think you have a reason to have Slowking on this team over Bro. and Slowking doesn't offer anything with like Chili Reception in comparison. So I think that's what I would do. And if possible, get rid of Glamora. Please, for the love of God, get rid of Glamora. Pick up like Hisui and Quillfish if you need to. If you really want what Glim does, get Quillfish. At least you get a secondary Dark that gets a Violate, and you can... Its defenses aren't great, but with a Violate, like, you can make it tank the shit out of everything. It doesn't really matter. So that's what I would do. Next up we have the Danley. The Danley's team is kind of interesting because it's one of those teams where he went a direction with it, which I kind of disagreed with it. But I do understand, though, that I told you guys, don't take this seriously. But at the same time, I kind of thought that you'd at least make like a core around Baxcalibur that made more sense. And I'm not saying that nothing makes sense on here. I'm mostly saying why Dio Speed when G-King was right there. The thing that G-King offers you is it can bait in ground types for Bax to destroy with its ice moves. But you can also Chili Reception in the Bax, and if you look at Baxcalibur, 115 HP, 117 defense, 101 special defense. You get up Snow, and Baxcalibur is not dying to a single physical move. Like, it's probably living like close combats from even very strong fighting types. I'm not exactly sure if I'm right about. I'm not calcing shit, but if I'm right about that, like, that's crazy. I think Slowking would have made this team phenomenal. Or even, like, Kanto King could have been pretty good there. But Dio Speed is nice. Dio Speed does still make sense, though. I do like the hazard spam that it has. I don't really like using Dio Speed as like a hazard spam bot. I like using it as like a coverage mon that has coverage for everything, and you can run it mixed. But you could also run it like bulky, kind of. Its bulk isn't that good, but if people think Rotom is bulky, then I think Dio Speed is bulky, you know? Keldeo is one of the most buffed mons in this format, considering it got Stealth Rock, it got Earth Power, it got Ice Beam. It still has phenomenal stabs with Secret Sword, or Focus Blast, or Aura Sphere. It has Scald, Surf, Hydro Pump. You got Flip Turn. It has pretty much everything you could ever ask for now, except for like sheer cold with no guard. Like, that's the only way that you could make Keldeo like more broken. But yeah, it's a very good mon without changing its stats. Something that I thought was funny about Keldeo is it's a mythical Pokemon that doesn't have a 600 base stat total. It's 580, which is the same as the other Swords of Justice, which I think is very cute. I don't really know why I'm putting that out there, but it's something that I noticed like a little bit more recently. But I'm pretty sure like Landorus has 600 base stat total. Like, they didn't match Landorus with the other genies, which I thought was funny. But they did it with Keldeo. I wonder if Landorus was meant to be the mythical over Keldeo. That's a thought. That's a thought. That would be crazy, actually. Anyways, the rest of the team, though, I really don't like those middle Pokemon between, like, King Gambit and Skeledirge. And I don't like Cleaver and Sceptile either. But I do get it, though. Danley said that he just wanted to use mons that he has... I don't know if he said that those are mons like he hasn't used before, or if they're mons like he's seen kind of go under the radar recently, but I honestly, when you drafted Mudsdale, it made no sense to me because Runerigus gets drafted way less than Mudsdale. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use Runerigus except myself. I've played draft for 5 years, guys. Almost 6 years. I'm almost on my 6th year of playing draft. I've been playing since before COVID. Like, right before COVID. I've never seen anyone in my damn life use Runerigus, and you picked up Mudsdale and said that no one drafts it. Bitch, Runerigus is so much better than Mudsdale now. It has Parting Shot. It got Parting Shot in ZA. It has rocks, just like Mudsdale. It has Toxic Spikes. Mudsdale doesn't get Toxic Spikes. It has, like, giant defense stat. And sure, Mudsdale has stamina and 100 base HP, but Runerigus is cool because it's a ghost type. It has Parting Shot. It has decent... Well, you know what? Mudsdale also has good special defense. But it has a more annoying ability. Like, Wandering Spirit shuts down a lot of Pokemon. And I don't know why you grab Mudsdale when Runerigus is the cooler option. And then you grab Skeledirge and said that this mon is underrated when it sucks. Like, I'm sorry. I don't care if anyone doesn't use Skeledirge. You should not use Skeledirge. It fucking sucks. Drop it immediately, get Runerigus, and you'll be thanking me. I hope. Either way, I'm not too fussed about it. I will say though, Florges is one of the most annoying mons I've ever had to prep with. And there was a time period like last year or like 2 years ago where I was drafting Florges and Quillfish like every draft, and it got kind of annoying because Quillfish was the GOAT, but Florges was fucking not. And sure, yes, I did get Kill Leader with Florges in one of those leagues. Or I don't know if it was Kill Leader or if it was my Kill Leader. It was up there though, because if it was my Kill Leader, then it was probably pretty high up there. I don't think it was the league Kill Leader, but I got a lot of kills with Florges. But it wasn't because Florges is a good mon, it's just because it clicked Moonblast and then I let it die. Like, Florges is one of those mons where, like, if your opponent has like a good steel type or a good fire type, Florges isn't doing shit. It's so walled by a lot of things, and at this point, a lot of steel types are actually very threatening. Like, you really don't want to be letting like Excadrill have a free turn. You really don't want Melmetal to get a free turn on you. And for that reason, I really can't stand with Florges when I think Sylveon. At least Sylveon has Mystical Fire, and I think I'd rather use Sylveon. Yes, Florges also gets removal, and it's the best removal on this team because Cleaver and Staraptor are very ass at removal. So like, if you could fix that, that would be great. I think I'm done complaining though. I don't like Cleaver. I don't like Sceptile. You could do a lot better. But I understand though. I understand. But I will say I think Megabax. No, it's Keldeo. Keldeo is the team. I think if you win games, it's because Keldeo was your savior. Even if it doesn't come to the game, it was watching over you. He is a mythical Pokemon. Like, he is God. So like, respect your little pony, please. All right, next up we have Brundon. I was kind of surprised to put this team a little bit higher than I thought I would, especially because his Mega Evolution is the worst one that was drafted, unfortunately. I do respect this so much though. I can't even complain about Pyro. Like, I'm not even gonna say like, oh, you should have picked up Mega Tatsugiri, you should have picked up Mega Frostlass or Skarmory. I'm not gonna yell at you for it because you're the Prague Pyroars. You have the damn right to use your mascot mon, okay? Use that damn Pyroar. I don't fucking care. And you know what? I also defend Mega Pyroar. I think Rivalry is underrated on it. It's a very low tier mon. It's a 2-point mon. You don't have to use Pyroar, and I think you are gonna use. I think you'll use Pyroar more than people are gonna expect you to because you love Pyroar, okay? And you have no Terra. There's no Terra in this format, so like, you don't have to feel bad about being like, oh, but Hoopa Unbound does shit better than Pyroar. I think Mega Pyroar is a better mon than Hoopa Unbound. Like, fuck that thing. Get rid of that Hoopa Unbound, okay? Like, okay. I feel like I've been talking in circles, but like, use the Pyroar. If you see, oh, this person has like Lando and Thundee and like a bunch of gender mons, where like, but the mons are like the same gender, use that gender of Pyroar. So like, on your team you have Cobalion, and you have I think Palafin might be male only. I could be wrong, but if Palafin's like male only, and say I think Cobalion's is fuck. I think I have it confused. To me, the Three Musketeer Pokemon from Gen 5, like, to me, they're male only, but I think they're genderless. But I think it's the weather, not the weather trio, the forces of nature that have genders. Yeah, because Lando, Thundy, and Torn have genders, and then Enam is female, and the other three are male. But pretend like you are facing like the genies. Use male Pyroar, and you won't regret it. Especially versus like my team, I have Mandibuzz. Use female Pyroar versus me if you are struggling with like Mandibuzz. I don't know how well Pyroar matches up into Mandibuzz, but I imagine Rivalry is probably breaking through it. Whereas like Blaze or I don't even know, like Moxie, like you're not getting anything out of Moxie. At least Rivalry, like it's a double-edged sword, yeah. But I would say overall you could get pretty lucky with genders. But and now that I say that though, like people are gonna run like specific genders. Like, oh, I have Landers, I'm gonna run female on all my other Pokemon because he's gonna assume at least if Landers is male, then there's a good chance like I have a better matchup if they roll male on their other genders randomly. But I've talked a lot about the gender thing, but the rest of the team is pretty cool too, with the Chomp, Palafin, Pechacunt, Corviknight, Screamtail, Hoopa, Unbound, Regieleki, Moltres, Cobalion, Decidueye, Hisui. I didn't say this in my criticism, but I don't think you need Moltres on this team. I do see where like there's not really an opportunity to pick up anything else really, because I don't think there's like a better dark flying unless you want like Gmolt, but I think the reason why Moltres is there is to be like secondary removal. But I will also say that Corviknight is one of the best removal in the format. You also have Decidueye, which kind of does stuff, and you have Regieleki Rapid Spin. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I think you could get rid of Moltres, or you could upgrade Moltres plus Cobalion. I think, Blaziken is open. You could get Blaziken. Blaziken also gets Defog. If you wanted to, of course, you don't have to. I like that it's a special attacker. I think you could also get better special attackers than Moltres that do more. I also, I really don't like Hoopa Unbound. I already mentioned it, but I would rather you have just a plain Dark type. Because when I'm looking at your type chart and your Ghost Resist is Pyroar, you're in the same spot as Cryptix. Like, you're kind of fucked against Zor. Like, now's a time more than ever to make sure you're getting those Ghost Resists. If you're playing Zor, good luck. I'm gonna assume people watching this video are gonna make transactions like as soon as they watch the video. I'm sure you'll be one of those people that picks up a Dark type, but also, but at the same time, now that I say this, then maybe you'll stick with this team, or maybe you'll make it worse because fuck what I think, right? That's how you should think, you know. Next up we have Kalkan. Kind of rated this around the same as Brendan's team. It doesn't look that bad on the surface, but some of the issues I have with it is I kind of noticed, and it might just be my bigger gripes because I kind of helped him more than I helped other people with their drafts. But he kind of talked to me about some of his picks, and I kind of disagreed with him about most of them. At first, I think I was okay with his top three. Scizor is kind of overrated here. I don't really think Scizor was on anyone's radar particularly because I think people are starting to think Scizzor's like not that good. I still think Scizzor's good, but I don't think it's like round 3. I think it is starting to become one of the sleeper picks that you pick later in the draft. But like you're not using this to defog. You're using this to spam bullet punch and U-turn, and that's all you're doing with Scizor. But the problem with some of these picks are you got 2 steel types, but you got 1 rock resist, and you also have Mega Dragonite and Thundurus, which threaten mons with rock coverage, or like they're supposed to, but they kind of don't. And then you also got a fighting type that doesn't resist rock with Heracross. And I told you to get Gallade, but then you're like, oh, but that'll make me weak to Ghost. But then you picked up fucking Espeon. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And you picked up the fighting type that is, like, basically hit super effectively by Ghost because you're gonna get... Its best set is Flame Orb, you get burned, and then they're clicking Hex on you, so I don't really see, like, why you fought me about Gallade when Heracross is just worse to Ghosts. But like anyway, you got Umbreon for that at least. But overall, my issue with it is I see a water type with Scald and Ice Beam, and you kind of lose. I don't I don't really see how the fuck you beat Milotic. Um, Even like a Milotic without Calm Mind, I think is just beating you. I don't see what you do, but with a Milotic with Calm Mind is just straight up beating you, and you can't revenge kill it super easily with like Thundurus unless you were like Thundy T. But yeah, it's kind of rough, and your Ghost type, or I'm sorry, your Grass type is Gourgeist. I think I would have picked up Breloom when it was open. And it was open. I know that. It would have at least been a rock resist, and it would have been a Mon that says, fuck you, Milotic. If you're not running speed, you're dying. And most bulky waters are not going to be running speed like Breloom can. So I probably would have done that. You could still get Chestnut. You could still get... I don't even know, like, Virizion. I don't think Virizion is doing much for you either, but... you gotta figure out what to do about those bulky waters with Ice Beam. And to be fair, I don't think people use those types of mons anymore. Like, you don't really see Milotic often. It is in this draft though. Someone does have Milotic, but you don't see that as much anymore. You don't see like Suicune as much anymore. So you might be fine, but I think you have some holes in this draft, and I think some of the things that you were like anxious about, like you kind of didn't help yourself with any of the picks that you end up making anyways. Like the fighting types that you had did not resist rock. Your steel types don't resist rock. Like there's something wrong there. So if you could fix it, then that would be great. Sacred Ash is next. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I was gonna decorate these teams with like something funny. The only thing that I did was I put the eyeball on Mega Darkrai because there's not a Mega Darkrai sprite yet. For some reason, no one's made one. I get it for like spoilers purpose, but the DLC was out like 3 weeks ago, and none of the artists have made anything yet. And you can tell that I use the same artist for a couple of these, but like most of them. Like, this Garchomp is a little bit different looking than a lot of these other things because I believe Retro made it. And then I believe he might have made the Absol too, but the rest of these I believe are all... these are all, like, King of the X-Roads, which I think they might be a bit different than these, because I don't think King of the X-Road made all of these. But, the art style on some of them is a little bit different. I just clicked on John Paul. What? Okay. I just spoiled, like, some of the placements, but it's fine. So, yeah, we got Sacred Ash with his Mega Darkrai Eyeball. Torn T, Zygarde, Jirachi, Slitherwing, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Silvally, Volcanion, Granbull, Electivire, and Regice. Overall, it kind of looks like the average Sacred Ash team where I see quite a few things that I think could be better, but at the same time, his team is so fat and like pivot spammy that it's not really gonna matter. But I will say this is probably one of his least like Sacred Ash teams, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't have that much recover spam. You got Regen on Torn, and you got Wish Jirachi, you have Morning Sun, Slitherwing, and you have Synthesis and Hornleech Ogerpon. That's kind of it. Like, the rest of his team is just kind of a bunch of bulky attackers, which is kind of cool. And for a bunch of bulky attackers, he has quite a bit of annoying things that he could do. Granbull is pretty annoying. It has like T-Wave, Encore, Volcanion got Defog. Silvally can choose whatever type the fuck it wants. Slithering has like Will-O-Wisp, and Jirachi has a lot of annoying tools. So does Darkrai too. Mega Darkrai has a lot of... It has pretty good bulk now, mixed bulk. It's very slow, but it gained a lot of attack, so you could use it on the physical side, but also pretty nicely on the special side. Did I put its special defense in incorrectly? Does that say 139? That's supposed to say 130. I will have to fix that after this. It's supposed to be 130, not 139. I don't know why the fuck this is 139. But no one yelled at me about it, so... Anyways. What am I trying to think about? Yeah, Darkrai has some pretty annoying tools defensively that it can do. I think it gets like T-Wave Wisp. So it can do things, and Mega Darkrai will do that. I will say though that I don't think I've ever been threatened by like Mega Darkrai on like the ZA ladder. And this Darkrai doesn't have Dark Aura. So you're not really hitting as hard with your stab moves, unfortunately. I hope that they give it a decent ability in Champions, because I think Darkrai might have been one of the more overpriced Megas for what it was worth. Regular Darkrai is just a lot better, but I think Sacred Ash wasn't feeling the best when he was drafting, so I don't really blame him for the way he drafted. But the one thing I did want to yell at him about was I think his Scarfers are absolutely awful. He basically has Jirachi, and that is it. Darkrai loses a lot of speed when you Mega Evolve. But when you don't Mega Evolve, like, you still can't run Scarf because you're running the Dark Ryanite or Dark Renite. I don't remember what it was called, but yeah, you have that. Scarf Torn is only good into like Meow Scarada matchups, assuming Meow isn't Scarf itself, so it's still kind of risky. Jirachi is a Scarfer, sure. It's fucking... in my experience using Jirachi, Jirachi is a bad luck charm. Like, if you're using Jirachi, you're bound to get unlucky. I think. And none of his other mons, like, want to Scarf. Unless you're, like... Unless you count, like, a +1 boosted Zygarde, or, like, extreme speed, but that's kind of it. Or, like, a Trailblaze Ogerpon, but Ogerpon can't run an item either. So, it's just kind of a very slow team. And the speed tiers are kind of middling past that as well. Like, his fast mons are the ones running items, basically. Halfway through the list now, I think we're at Sagex, with the Mega Chimecho, Tinglu, Iron Bundle, Pincurchin, Tapu Fini, Hawlucha, Serperior, Dragonite, Chi, Volbeat, and Type-Null. This is one of those teams where I feel like I didn't see much wrong with it on the top. Not... What am I trying to say? I didn't see much wrong with it, like, at first. But I feel like there's something wrong here. I can't really place my finger on it. And it's not... I guess I will talk about the elephant in the room. More like the elephant's food, as in Pincurchin. He absolutely grabbed Pincurchin to snipe Ornn from taking it, which is funny because Pincurchin is Pincurchin. It does have a purpose on this team, though, as it can boost up Iron Bundle, which is nice. And you can also reset terrain between Pink and Fini. Pair that with Hawlucha, or if you want to run electric terrain, and you want to run like Telepathy on top of Fini, you can run Electric Seed on Lucha. I think the seeds, like, you get the seed variety with both of these guys. I think you can boost either defense or special defense, depending on the terrain, with Lucha, which is cool. Tinglu also helps support Lucha with the hazard stacking, because Lucha's attack stat is pretty abysmal. Same with Serperior. Serperior's special attack was pretty abysmal as well. And then you got some breaking power Chi-Yu. I think it's cool to see Chi-Yu and Tinglu on the same team. Both Treasures of Ruin. You lower, I think, special attack, and I think you lower like special defense or defense. I forgot which one Tinglu does. I think Tinglu lowers special attack, and then Chiyu lowers special defense. So kind of cool for both of them. Chime, I think it's one of those megas where I really don't know if it's gonna be good, or if it's gonna be shit, or if it's gonna be broken. There's kind of no in between. I'm gonna assume it'll have matchups where like if you let it get up a cosmic power, it's like pretty much over. Or in other games, like it's just gonna die because its bulk. Like, I think its bulk is okay, but it could have been better, and I think it's kind of power crept in that regard. Um, we'll see what it does though. Its speed tier is not great, but its special attack is very good. They didn't waste anything on attack on it, which is nice. It'll have levitate still, which is also nice. Kind of like a Bronzong in a way, and I think does Bronzong also get cosmic power? I'm not sure, but I know Chime gets recover, and that's what's going to be annoying about it. So we'll see what it can do. I like Dragonite on this team. I think Hawlucha is also very good on this team, not just because it can sweep on with terrain, but you can use Lucha defensively with Limber if you think there's like some annoying T-Wave bullshit coming at it. But you could also use Mold Breaker. You can Toxic a Goldingo if you want to, and yeah, like you can do some annoying shit with Lucha. And I hope that Gex does do annoying shit with Lucha. I think Type Null is also underrated as like a normal type pivot, so it's pretty cool. Next up, we have Orin. We have the electric terrain team that has no electric terrain. But we have the Raichu Y, which has Surge Surfer. My ability thing says static, so it's something that I'll probably fix in a near update. Kind of along with Mega Dark Eyes. Excuse me, special defense. You got Raichu Y, you got Meowscarada, Iron Moth, Iron Crown, Enamorus, Porygon 2, Buzzwole, Dracovish, Sandaconda, and Galarian Corsola. At first, his team looked just to be very offensive, but he kind of grabbed some decent defensive pivots at the end, or towards the middle with P2, Buzzwole, and you got Crown. And then on the lower end, you have Sandaconda. I think Galarian Corsola is more solid than people think it is. You got Meow and Raichu's knockers, which aren't great, but I think overall, you have some decent tools. Actually, Porygon 2 might get Electric Terrain. If he's using P2 as like a terrain setter, assuming it gets Electric Terrain, because I think it might, you can use Electric Terrain Volt Switch. Because yeah, Porygon 2 got Volt Switch in ZA. I might go through this at the end and see like what people got with their mons. Raichu Y got, I think, Dazzling Gleam, but it already has Alluring Voice, so I don't think it needed much else in terms of coverage, but it got something new. I don't think anything else on that list got anything else in ZA other than P2. But yeah, it's very cool for him. Dracovish is also like an interesting bulky water where like it has bulk stats, and you can run Scarf on him, but you could probably also get away with Assault Vest if you are just trying to break things that are slower than you. But Dracovish is one of those mons, like, you really have to prep for it. And the fact that it's kind of lower on his draft, compared to, like, these top 7, like, people might forget about Dracovish and prep, and they might get destroyed by it. Just saying. So, if you're prepping against Orin, be careful. He's got quite a few strong mons on there. Next up we have Power Fable. You guys can probably tell that I'm starting to lose it a little bit. It's almost 3 in the morning, and I have 6 more teams to get through. So yeah, next up we have Power Fable, running the Mega Staraptor, which by the way has a really cool sprite. I like the pose that King of the X-Roads gave it. You also got Landorus, Therian, Slowking, Darkrai, Basculegion, Tinkaton, Shaman, Raikou, Miltank, and Arcanine. This is one of the teams where I feel like I didn't have anything bad to say about it. Um, the only main bad thing I had to say about it was Raikou, and I kind of think Raikou has like its place here. For like a speed tier and somewhat of like a speed control and a mon that resists flying. It's one of those electrics that I think it's bulky enough to consider it like an actual resist to things. I think Raikou's stats all around, like I like the balance of stats that it has, so I can appreciate it on this team. Um, all this is paired with triple intimidate. You got two flying types with intimidate, which is awesome, and then Arcanine, which might have been a little bit overkill, but it kind of wasn't on purpose. It was just kind of the way I helped him make this team in Grace, and it was just kind of whatever fit there, because I think Mega Staraptor is the most interesting Mega on the board that he was interested in potentially using, and I'm glad that he did. Um, Also, Mega Staraptor having a double Intimidate when it Mega Evolves is pretty good. It's pretty good at shutting down other physical attackers, so it can definitely easily revenge kill late game if you bring this out later game. I could also see Staraptor being used as like a defensive pivot with both Intimidate. It can run Defog and U-turn, and you can do stuff with that. You get stab on close combat now, so I can see like what CC U-turn Roost Defog. Um, but its coverage, its stab coverage is generally very good with close combat and Brave Bird. They gave it Blaze Kick and Knockoff in ZA, so people running it can hit like Golden Go now, which is awesome. So I love the buffs that Staraptor got, and I'm excited to see it used in play as well. But yeah, the rest of the team is also just very solid. I think Slowking offers a very good pivot, especially like Future Sight, Chilly Reception into Staraptor. Basically, like you're claiming a KO every time you do it. In theory, I mean, you're probably not exactly doing that because you have to have good positioning, but in theory, it's very strong. I've always been a fan of like Future Sight into fighting type. Um, So you got that. Darkrai picking up in Grace was very good for him because it offered him his top speed tier. He didn't have to rely on fucking Rabombi or whatever the fuck he had before. Basculegion is actually underrated, in my opinion, as a tanky water. It has really high HP, and its defenses are high enough where you could kind of invest in a couple. You can invest a couple points in its defenses, and it becomes very tanky. I've had like Assault Vest Basculegion like easily live Specs Shadow Ball from Dragapult, and then still kill it back with their own Shadow Ball or like their. Yeah, it was Shadow Ball. I was gonna say Phantom Force, but that doesn't really make sense to me. So you can run Basculegion defensively. It's very good at it now, especially with Flip Turn. When I used Basculegion, I did not have the privilege to use Flip Turn on it, and it kind of entices me now to want to use Basculegion. Tinkaton's also very cool with like Encore, Rocks, T-Wave. It's one of those mons that it's gained a lot of value over the last couple of years because people are just realizing like just how obnoxious it can be. It's very fast. It just has a lot of annoying tools. It has a really strong move with Gigaton Hammer, and some teams really like. Even though Steel is not the best like offensive typing, like people do have to prep for Gigaton Hammer. It just kind of depends on the matchup. Shaman's pretty underrated as well. I think as a Healing Wish user, you could pretty easily use it as with a Healing Wish. Miltank being an ice and a fire resist is also pretty cool. Resisting ice is just very good for Mega Staraptor and Landorus because they'd be weak to ice. Being weak to resisting fire isn't like the biggest thing in the world for it, but it's still helpful to have thick fat. And then you got Arcanine, kind of stuff like that. I don't really have any issues with this team. Like, I think the main thing that I have to say about it is I'm not really like overly threatened by anything on this team. Like, there's nothing here that really scares me. It's just overall like you have to prep for all of these mons. Like, all of these mons are something you have to respect in prep, and I do like that about this team. Next up we have John Paul, who's drafted the Mega Excadrill, Spectrier, Tyranitar, Rotom Wash, Latias, Volcarona, Mienshao, Togekiss, Eldegoss, Fortress, and Stoutland. Mega Drill is one of the mons that I've already used in a team tour. I did not like Drill, but I will say I think Drill currently, like, if it keeps Sand Rush, use it with Sand, like use it with Sandstream. If you're not planning on using Mega Excadrill without Sand, you are throwing. Mega Excadrill is not shit without Sand Rush. And that's kind of how I feel about regular Drill too. Like regular Drill kind of struggles, but at least regular Drill can run an item. You can run like sub lefties with it, but you absolutely want Sandstream with it. The only problem with it on this team is SDS does not allow Weather Rocks to be run. So if you run T-Tar Drill, you only get like 4 turns max to use Drill in the sand. So the thing that I like John Paul, what he did with his draft is he drafted Eldegoss and Mienshao. I'm gonna assume as means of running like eject buttons to help get in Excadrill, and they can probably take a hit. At least Eldegoss can. Like Mienshao, maybe not. I think you could have done something better than Mienshao. Honestly, I think you should have put Amoonguss on this team. I think because Amoonguss offers you the poison typing, and you have 2 levitators, so you're not really like weak to ground. But I think I would have grabbed Amoonguss over Eldegoss Mienshao, and I would have gotten like a lower tier fighting probably. I don't think you need Mienshao's speed tier either, because you got Lottie, you got Volk, and you have Spectrier to cover that kind of stuff. So, kind of interesting. I suppose Mienshao is offering you like another physical attacker, whereas a lot of your mid tiers are kind of just like special attacker pivots, like Rotom. You got Togekiss, you got Volcarona and like Latias, and like they're kind of just like special attackers. I also don't really think Volcarona needs to be on this team. Volcarona is just one of those mons, like you can really only use it like twice a season, and sometimes it sweeps, but then like most people are gonna prep for it. But the nice thing about Volcarona as well is like you have to prep for it, but you also have to prep for like the Mega Drill and Tyranitar, because some teams really don't have much for Mega Drill. So if Mega Drill is in the sand versus those teams, like John Paul can probably easily pick up a win. So good for him. Next up we have Odie using the Mega Meganium, Iron Valiant, Gliscor, Gouging Fire, Samurott, Round-2E, Thunder's Therian, Scolipede, Frostlass, Raticate, and Metagross. Odie's again one of those coaches that definitely picked up a lot on what was gained in ZA. Although now I think about it, it was mostly, you got Meganium, which now has Dazzling Gleam. And I think it has Earth Power now. I think before it only had Earthquake, but now it has Earth Power, which is very nice for it. For coverage, for Steel types, I love that about Meganium. And then you also paired it with Iron Valiant. To cover that fairy typing for Valiant, which is very nice. Valiant is a good fighting type. Like you don't really need Valiant like as a bulky fighting, but you definitely want like a secondary fairy with Valiant, I think. So I like that he did that. And Meganium, I think, is very underrated. Its defensive profile is just very solid. I think Grass Fairy is just underrated, because I think when people think of Grass Fairy, they think of Tapu Bulu, and I think Tapu Bulu is just kind of ass because it's a physical attacker, whereas Grass and Fairy are better as like special attacking typings, with more options on the special side. Whimsicott, which is just kind of an annoying mon that isn't very bulky or very strong. And then you had Shiinotic, which has a lower base stat total than like Murkrow. So now that you have Meganium here that has more than like pseudo-legendary stats, it's going to be pretty good. It has very good mixed bulk and a very high special attack set, and they didn't waste anything in like speed. I think they put like 10 in attack, which isn't bad because it can still use physical attacks. You can still run SD. And you can run Dragon Tail, you can run Knockoff, and I believe like you can run like Leaf Blade. Like it can still do things. Not Leaf Blade. It might be like Petal Blizzard actually. It doesn't seem bad though, but I will say that I hope that they give it Calm Mind in the future. Like, if they probably won't give it Nasty Plot, but I can see it getting Calm Mind. I also think Gliscor is pretty overrated. In the draft format, I kind of think most people just kind of run ice coverage for it. And versus Odie, it shows, yes, he does have 3 ice resists, but one of them is Frostlass, the other one's weak to Freeze Dry, and it also has not very good special defense. The other one's Metagross, which is kind of worn down by like hazards or like other attacks over time. I think there's just going to be ice coverage that comes for Gliscor without really feeling too threatened about Metagross coming in on it instead. Um, I also don't think this team supports gouging fire very well. Well, I think Meganium gets double screens, but I don't really think you want to use Meganium for double screens because in my experience helping people prep with Mega Meganium, it looks really good offensively a lot. And I think you'd rather use Meganium offensively. And by offensively, I mean like you can use it defensively, but it still hits hard because its 143 special attack is just very good. And you don't really want to use it as like a support option, but I do think if you have like other screens options, I guess you get maybe Scolipede. I know Frostlass does though, and if Frostlass doesn't want to run dual screens, you can run Cursed Body with Snowscape and then like Aurora Veil and then like getting Gouging Fire for the sweep. I also like the Samurott. I think Samurott just does well in like most teams it's on because it's good at setting up hazards. It's not the best bulky water, but again, I think Meganium covers a lot of holes. And so does like Thundurus, surprisingly, helps with a lot of weaknesses on most teams as on. And then you got Gliscor. Even though I just shat on Gliscor, I still think it's like it's still annoying, and you still have to like prep against it, and you still have to play it. And it's there. You still have to deal with it, you know. So that's Odie's team. He also has Raticate, and I suppose. But he's one of those teams that he got quite a bit out of the DLC because Scolipede got... Basically, Scolipede's new moveset is like stuff that it never had before. You got U-Turn, you got First Impression, you got Gunk Shot, you got Mortal Spin. That's 4 moves right there. Like, if you just want to run that, like, that's probably a set in at least 1 week. If you really wanted to, but yeah, Mortal Spin's a very good addition on it in terms of removal, because his removal is Gliscor and Thundurus, and I don't think that's very good removal. Now I think about it though, I think I probably would have rated this team like a bit lower, but I kind of respected like what he was going for with these mons, but he will have to definitely rely a bit on Scolipede doing what it needs to, but I think it kind of can because maybe you don't really want to bring your steel types into Gouge Gliscor, Val, or like Thundurus kind of threatens them. You got Sacred Fire, not Sacred Fire, Sacred Sword on this. Potentially. Frostlass also got like Nasty Plot, which is cool. Next up we have my team. Holy shit, we're at my team. I put myself at number 3 apparently. I kind of didn't want to rate myself that high at first. I had myself kind of on the lower end because I don't like some of my defensive profiles in terms of like my ground resist and my rock resist. I think the rock resist is the worst part. When I was drafting, I kind of didn't think too much about it. I picked up Mega Greninja because it was the best Mega on the board. Well, actually, let me go through my team really quick. We got Mega Greninja, we got Iron Treads, we got Cinderace, Raging Bolt, Mandibuzz, Uxie, Roserade, Grapploct, Porygon Z, and Azumarill. Okay, so in terms of drafting around Mega Greninja, I picked up Treads. I'm actually currently using Greninja and Treads in a team tour. It was the same team tour that I had Mega Drill in without Sand that I was talking about earlier. And I was able to trade teams with someone else on my team. I think we actually dropped Mega Drill altogether. I think no one is using it. I think our team is the only team not using Mega Drill, which is kind of funny. But you know what? If none of us like it, then fuck it. Fuck Mega Drill. But yeah, I have Greninja Treads. But I've also seen people really into like this whole Mega like Greninja Raging Bolt shit. It might be a matter of like Terra Raging Bolt, and there's no Terra in the format that we're playing. But Raging Bolt is one of those mons where I at some point I had to use it, you know? It's not a mon I particularly like. I think I liked its design at first, but now like the more I've like seen it and the more that I've watched people use it, the less I've liked it. And I think it's one of those mons where like it's becoming like the new Kyurem for me. That I don't really like it, but I think I need to give it a shot before I really form my opinion around it. And it does have some good things about it. It does have really nice HP, and 91 defense, 89 special defense is not bad. It's very bulky actually, and you can easily run Assault Vest on it because it's only non-attacking move that it usually runs is like Calm Mind, so it can easily run Assault Vest if I have to. You get T-Bolt, you get Draco, Dragon Pulse, Thunderclap, Ancient Power, Weather Ball if I'm running like Sunny Day on something. But I've seen this whole Raging Bolt Greninja thing, and I figured maybe I could try it this time with Mega Gran instead, because Mega Gran is a lot faster and it's a lot stronger. The problem with Mega Gran is I can't run Protein or I can't run like Battle Bond, but in my experience using it in ZAOU, I kind of don't like Protein on it. I kind of like the idea of like being able to spam stabs and just switch back and forth between the stab moves. But maybe in draft it'll be different though, because there's gonna be more situations where I'm like, oh, I kind of want to run like Sludge Wave or something instead, or I want to run like Nasty Plot into a like Vacuum Wave. And I'd like much rather use that, but I kind of didn't. I think the only thing I banned on Greninja was Battle Bond. I think I allowed myself to use Protein on pre-Mega Gran, but I kind of trust in myself that I probably will only use Torrent because I don't really see a lot of situations where I'd rather use regular Gran before Mega Gran, unless Battle Bond was allowed. And speaking of Gren, my team also gained a lot out of the ZA editions. So Gren has Nasty Plot, Vacuum Wave, and Psyshock. Psyshock isn't the best addition on it, but I will say in like 8-mon formats, when someone has like Tentacruel, you're killing Tentacruel now. Like, you're beating Tentacruel 1v1 with Psyshock over Extrasensory, most likely. Because Tentacruel is ass on the physical side. So that's very cool. Roserade gained Mortal Spin, which is boosted by Technician, which doesn't really matter because its attacks isn't that bad. Like, 70 is not bad. But it also has Mudshot, which gave it something to hit, like, steel types, unless it's like Corv or like Scissor that resist ground in some way, but or like neutral to ground. But Mudshot is very good on it because it's also boosted by Technician. I think it's 55 base power, so with Technician I think it would be 82.5, which is actually not that bad. It's a lot stronger than, well, I would say it's stronger than Hidden Power Ground, but Hidden Power Ground is also boosted by Technician, so it's kind of like having Hidden Power Ground, but a little bit worse. But it does lower the opponent's speed with 100% accuracy, which is very nice in case Roserade isn't outspeeding whatever it is mudshotting at that particular moment. And the cool thing is, paired with that, we got Grapple Locked, which got hella buffed in ZA. And by hella buffed, it really didn't get that much, but it got what it really needed, which was pairing Technician with Bullet Punch and Mach Punch. And they also gave it Knockoff, which I kind of think it needed. So they really gave it what it needed. Unfortunately, its stats are still kind of ass. its bulk is not bad. Like, it has the 80, 90, 80. It's living a hit, and like, I've used this thing in ZAOU. Graplock is just, it's one of those mons where it's tanky enough to take like a hit or two and then smash something back with Storm Throw, which is a move that is both boosted by Technician and always crits. And I believe it is stronger than Close Combat because Technician is boosting it to 90 power, and then the crit is making it 135 base power. So you see where I'm going with it. Like, it's a lot stronger than Close Combat without any drawbacks other than the fact that it's a contact move, which Close Combat is a contact move anyways. But you also can't just Iron Defense on Graplock because you're Storm Throwing critting it. Unless you're a Ghost type, in which case Graplock is kind of fucked. But I think Graplock is a very, is a very real mon in this format. And I hope to God that it keeps the buffs that it has in Champions or whatever the next time it appears, because this thing, it's so fucking cool looking, and they already fucked it over by not making it like water fighting, and they fucked it over by giving it like really average shitty stats. Like, they made it a low tier, but they didn't allow you to get it until like late games. Like, why the fuck would you ever use Graplock? I am so excited to use it. But I have to talk about Porygon Z. Porygon Z also got Volt Switch and Flash Cannon, so it allowed it to hit fairy types a little bit easier, as well as tell the steel types coming in on it to fuck themselves, because it will be Volt Switching, and you'll then be dealing with Raging Bolt and Cinderace coming in on it, so that's very cool. Or even just Graplock, because fuck you. So I'm excited about that. Porygon Z is one of my much needed Pokemon on this team, just because I feel like I don't have a proper Scarfmon. I have run Scarf Cinderace, I have run Scarf Treads. The Scarf Treads is one of the more common sets I used to run on Treads. As someone that I feel like I know Treads better than a lot of people, just because I've used it so much, and I know kind of the ins and outs of its move pool and how easily I think it can revenge kill things. But I'd much rather like allow them to run what they want to. Raging Bolt and like Roserade really don't want to run Scarf that much, and my Greninja can't run an item. So Porygon Z is here to be like pretty much a dedicated Scarfer if I really need to Scarf something in PZ. Doesn't look like a bad Scarfer. Also normal type, so you know, it gave me something there. And then my last one is Azumarill. Trant shit on me for drafting Azumarill because apparently it's like outclassed and like not as viable anymore, because a lot of the things that you used to draft Azumarill for don't get drafted anymore. Chiampao's banned, for example. Dragonite can't Terra anymore, so like you're not really having to deal with like Outrage as much, and like Pult is usually banned. Chi-Yu, no one usually uses no one drafts Chi-Yu anymore, but you know what? Those mons are all out in this league, and they were all drafted, so fuck you. Azumarill is the fucking GOAT, and Azumarill saves all of my drafts ever. I literally looked. I've drafted Azumarill I think 5 times, and every time it was not a mon that I picked up in the draft. It was a mon that I picked up in Grace because my team was fucked, and Azumarill is the only thing there that would save my ass from anything. So that is something I will thank Azumarill for. That is enough about my team though, because I'd like to move on to number 2. The Lake Erie Elekid's coached by Elekid, of the egotistical kind. On his team we have Mega Heatran, Great Tusk, Tapu Koko, Latios, Rillaboom, Milotic, Iron Leaves, Drapion, Iron Thorns, Swellow, and Mismagius. That Heatran sprite seems really out of place, I feel, but I'm not really sure like what's wrong with it. I think it's just its design is too like goopy looking, maybe. But I do really like Mega Heatran's design. It's really cool. Stat-wise is also very cool. Other than its speed stat, which I will not talk about that speed stat, unfortunately for you guys. Um, this team, like the top 5 is just fucking phenomenal. And you got a sleeper pick there in Milotic, which got Calm Mind in ZA. Very cool. Mega Heatran has what, like 120 attack? Yes, 120 attack, and they gave it first impression, which is interesting because some of the things that want to wall Tusk or Latios or Coco, bulky psychic types perhaps, you can first impression them and they might get thrown off guard, and then they might just kind of die. But yeah, I really like that top 5 together. Rillaboom Heatran once more has been it's resurged apparently because of Megatran, which is kind of the thing that I've noticed with a couple of these megas, such as like Excadrill. Past the top 6 though, like I really don't like some of the mons. I think Iron Leaves is very bad. I'm just gonna flat out say it. Iron Leaves fucking sucks. Iron Thorns also really sucks. But I kind of get it though, that Iron Leaves and Iron Thorns were the only megas that were, or not the only megas, they were the only like Paradox mons that could pair with Coco at that point, because everything else was taken. The only mon left on the board that isn't drafted was Iron Boulder, and yes, I do think Iron Boulder is better than both Thorns and Leaves, but it's more expensive than both of them combined, so I can't really complain about it too much. Drapian's actually kind of a sleeper pick. I think it has access to Pursuit, but I think the issue with Drapion is if you have to use it defensively, like it really just doesn't have the stats to be defensive anymore. Its stat spread is kind of weird. And I think Gen 4 kind of does this kind of a lot, where like Gen 4 and Gen 5 kind of did this a lot, where like they kind of gave some of these mons like middling attacking stats, but they made them kind of fast and like defensive, but then like not a lot of HP and just kind of wasted potential overall. Drapion doesn't, I feel like it doesn't have an identity as a mon, unfortunately. As a poison and a dark type, I think if you wanted to use something better than Drapion that has more of an identity, I would have probably drafted like Hisui and Quillfish or like Overquill. They are a little bit cheaper, but at the same time, you could also get rid of like both Thorns, Swellow. Well, no, you could get rid of Thorns, you could get rid of Leaves, you can get rid of Swellow, Mismagius. Well, you know, I won't shit on Mismagius after the terror crimes it committed last season for me. Although I will say that Mismagius committed those crimes because of Terra, but ignore that, you know. Anyways, I still put this team at number 2 because I honestly think that the top 6 is just that solid that the bottom mons don't really matter, and like, even though I think they're bad, like, they still do something. Like, Drapion still gets knockoff, it still gets pursuit, it's still somewhat bulky, it's still gonna eat a hit. It can still be offensive, it can be annoying. Knockoff and like Poison Jab are really annoying to deal with because you can lose your item, you can get poisoned, chipped down. Iron Leaves, if you're like booster speed on it, like it's going to hit something, and it has decent coverage. Grass Psychic is pretty good with close combat. You also got Mega Horn too, which it's cool. I think Iron Leaves is cool. It's just without Terra, I don't think it is cool. I think if we had Terra allowed in this format, I would have 100% expected Iron Leaves on this team to be Terra. And I think Thorns, like, I did shit on Thorns, but I also do think it has its place as like a hazard setter. Removal on this team is pretty decent. I think Coco Tusk is all you really need. You got the backup options with like Latios and I suppose Swellow, but this team also isn't really weak to hazards. Um, yeah, you have one rock resist in Tusk, but you only have one rock weakness in Swellow. And to be fair, Swellow's kind of weak to anything that it doesn't resist, so it's just kind of like that. I think you could have also made Swellow something different entirely, but I won't complain about it. But we are going to move on to number one, and number one is going to be Wobbuffet, the Long Beach Luxrays, sporting Mega Delphox, Sneasler, Primarina, Iron Jugulis, Donphan, Kyurem, Skarmory, Rotom-Mow, Indeedee, and Vanillix. Now, this is not my favorite team at all, not even the slightest. I think there are teams that can perform better and probably will, but this team supported Mega Delphox phenomenally well. You have Donphan. I'm not gonna start with Donphan. You have Indeedee, which is surprisingly cheap for how much buffs it got in ZA. I think Indeedee is like a lot more usable than people say it is. It is pretty fast, and if you want to run like female Indeedee, like it can be tanky-ish, and it can hit hard with its own psychic terrain with expanding force. It's one of the few terrain setters that can actually really take advantage of its own terrain. Pincurchin's too slow and like too frail to really use like rising voltage and be like scary with it, whereas Indeedee can be fast. It can run Calm Mind, and it can run expanding force. I guess Rillaboom can Grassy Glide, but I think expanding force like overall is just a much scarier move in prep than like Grassy Glide, if that makes sense. But supporting that with Delphox and Sneasler, you got the Unburden boost for Sneasler if you want to run Psychic Seed. And for Sneasler, like, you only need one turn of terrain for it. But with Indeedee into Delphox, Delphox is one of the fastest mons in the format now, and it has Mega Charizard Y's special attack stat, which is fucking insane. Mega Delphox is fucking insane, and that's without a proper ability. Like, they're not gonna give it Blaze. Blaze is decent on it though. Like I think people kind of underrate the starter abilities quite a bit. I think Torrent on like Blastoise and like Overgrowth Chestnut have saved me quite a bit. When I use like starters, or like what other starters, like Swampert kind of benefits a lot from Torrent. Like, they're not bad abilities, but once they get different abilities, like they'll be a lot better, unless they're like purposely bad, like Defeatist or something, which it won't be. I think Delphox is gonna get like Levitate or Magic Guard or No Guard, but like just the way it looks, I could see it getting those. But yeah, then you also have Donphan as removal, along with like Skarmory and Indeedee. Skarmory and like Rotom-Mow as removal. So that's very cool. I think the one gripe I really had with this team is Iron Jugulis. I think you probably should have grabbed Mandibuzz when it was open, because it can pivot, it can defog around, U-turn. It just kind of does the darn thing. Skarmory can also run defog, and it's not a bad defogger. I think you'd rather use it as a hazard stacker though, because I think from what I've seen from Delphox is it really likes when things are like chipped down for it, so it can clean a little bit easier without having to click plot at times. So that's what I prefer. And yeah, that'll be PRs. I think my overall thoughts, everyone's teams are very close. There was very few that stood out in either good or bad, other than Zor's team, which like that's just the nature of running mono-type teams. I've already talked about the Megas that weren't picked up. I think it was surprising. Mostly Mega Skarmory and I think Mega Chestnut not getting picked up was kind of crazy. I wasn't expecting Chandelure to get picked up, for example. I also noticed that a lot of the top-end Megas seem to be the best teams. Like here, I think Wobbuffet supported Delphox phenomenally for what he had available. I think even Heatran is supported very well with Rillaboom. Heatran I don't consider like a top 5 mega. Like I kind of made like in my head there's like a top 3 and now there's probably like a top 5, maybe like a top 6, but Heatran's not really in that, but it's really close. If they give it like Earth Eater and Champions, like it definitely is probably like top 5. But you have that. You have a Mega Greninja. It's the Mega Greninja and the Delphox that I think of when I think of like top 3. I think this team supports Mega Gren pretty well. I got like the Spikes Roserade. I have a lot of pivots between like Raging Bolt, Mandibuzz, Cinder, Treads, Uxie, and then like breakers and Grapploct. Calling Grapploct a breaker is kind of weird, but I trust me, this thing hits fucking hard. Cinderace also has really strong moves. Raging Bolt hits pretty hard. It is non-Terra Bolt, but it's still like Gren Bolt and Treads, which I think is like the third that I see people use on like Gren Bolt teams. Treads, but I think Treads is just one of those glue mons that fits every team. But yeah, Meganium's not top tier, but Drill is the third of the top 3, supported very well. Meganium I think placed a lot higher because I think it honestly might be better than 9 points. I would use Meganium over like most of the mons before like 12 and 13. Honest to God, I want to see what Odie thinks of it when he uses it, but I think Meganium has more potential to move up on the tier list as time goes on. But yeah, these top 3 for sure. Gren, Heatran, Delphox, and then we got Drill at 5. Staraptor seems like an oddball out of this, but I think Power Heal's team is just very balanced. Raichu I think has a lot of potential. Honestly, it has a lot of potential, mostly because of its speed tier and its special attack being 160, whereas I think a lot of scary mons before used to be like 140. I think 160 might put it at good enough to really be a threat. Chime, not at this point, like you're starting to get to like the lower end. But then I also talked about on here that I think some of the megas really weren't supported that well. And for example, I'm sorry to Danley, but I don't think you supported Baxcalibur like that well. If that makes sense. I think you really should have gotten G-King. Like the poison type being red is like, it's really calling out to you, you know? So I would have probably thought about it a little bit more, but it's not a bad team, and again, I just want people to have fun with this draft. We might not be playing for 9 weeks. Honest to God, like if they announce Champions comes out tomorrow, like this video will be pointless because we'd be either redrafting or I'd have to plan out what else to do. I think people actually drafted somewhat safe though. Like if these mons, like if they really do get shit on, or like if their abilities change, like I think people drafted pretty safe. So we'll see what would happen if Champions was to come out sooner than later. And yeah, this is our standings. Did I have anything else to say? No? That was kind of it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this hour-and-a-half long video. I feel like I had overall a lot of shit to say, but I am glad that I got to say it. And this video will definitely be up on New Year's. And have a good day. Happy New Year.